Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here. Thanks for joining us from around the planet. I appreciate you very much. Coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. Today on the program, the Trump and H-1B visa story. A lot of people out there, even MAGA purists, God bless you, who are panicking about this. I'm going to detail all of this, tell you why there's no reason to panic, and I'm going to rely on my 23 years in corporate America as an HR executive, including my time as a VP of HR, so I can explain to you what this is. I used this every day, every year in corporate America. Today on the program, ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings is upon you to put your mind at ease. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, welcome back. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me. Remember, I am here to help. I'm here to walk people in off of the ledge of Kookville and from the ledge of panic. And today I am going to do my best to be very gentle in doing that. Not accusing anyone of being a fool or foolish necessarily on our side, but there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of misunderstanding about Trump's plans as far as the H-1B visas are concerned. Many of you know my story. 5 years ago, I left corporate America. It was during the COVID nonsense. We had just experienced the theft of an American presidential election and so forth. And I started this program, The Right Side. Prior to that, I was in corporate America, and I kind of rose through the ranks and grew up in corporate America in the HR department for various industries, primarily the automotive industry and the automotive, the healthcare, and the aerospace industries. That's been so long. I've blocked all of that out. Had to really remember. So I wouldn't go back to corporate America to save my life, folks. It's funny that when you are gifted adversity, challenge, and tragedy, and it is a gift. That's what we do as conservatives. We see everything as a gift, everything that comes our way, because with the proper perspective, you can see the multiple yet unborn blessings that surround you when times of adversity, challenge, and tragedy strike. So I left corporate America. I was actually told to leave. I was fired because I would not draft policies that would keep people sequestered away during the COVID crisis when I was in the healthcare industry. So long story, but I digress. My point today is that while I was in corporate America, I used the H-1B program, and I'm going to tell you why there's no reason here at all, not whatsoever, for Americans and American workers to panic with regards to this. So I have had today a lot of inquiries on my text and on social media and on email. People worried that we're bringing in foreign talent while we are overlooking our hardworking Americans who may be just as qualified, but we're overlooking them. So I'm going to do what I can to address that, and I'm going to do what I always do, and that is walk people in off of that ledge of panic and of fear, and off of the ledge, for some people, off of the ledge of intellectual immaturity, and back into the room of rational thought and maturity. So we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to calm down, be calm, cool, and collected, and engage in that intellectual maturity that you are known for, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you listen to this program, you become members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of radio land. So facts and my real world experience are going to factor in here while I give you a balanced and conservative take on how President Trump is actually protecting our workers, at the same time keeping America competitive. You and me, ladies and gentlemen, straight talk. That's what we do. We go back and forth with opinion, but it's always straight talk. So let me start with the basics for anyone who might be new to all of this. The H-1B visa, they allow companies to hire foreign workers for specialized jobs. Usually it's in tech, engineering, and science. The annual cap, there is a cap for allowable H-1B visas, is 85,000. You can renew, you can apply to renew, and you can get extensions as an H-1B visa holder. So that said, there's about 100,000 so active H-1B visas at any given time. Now, President Trump in his first term tightened things up on this quite a bit. I mean, big time. And here in 2025, just this year, just 11 months into his second term, he's doubled down on those safeguards and that tightening up. In September of this year, that's just 2 months ago, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri, he issued a proclamation that absolutely slammed the systematic and systemic abuse of the H-1B program amongst corporations in this country. And he slapped a whopping $100,000 fee on new H-1B applications. That's a huge jump from the old fees that was in the thousands. And corporations pay that if they want to get these H-1B visa holders over here. Now, why did Trump do that? Because he wanted to stop companies from using the H-1B program as a way to get cheap labor or to use a loophole to lower wages. Trump calls it out, and he's preventing, in his words, the large-scale replacement of American workers by companies who really don't give a rip. And these companies have got to be held accountable, and they will. So the Trump administration launched something called Project Firewall. It's an investigation into companies in this country who have abused the H-1B visa program. And as of today, there are 175 active investigations going on with regards to companies who are trying to jerk us around with regards to this program. Companies that actually have the audacity and the anti-American spirit to put up fake job postings or underpay the foreign applicants for jobs to undercut the entire United States wage structure. And I saw this kind of thing firsthand when I was in corporate America working in human resources. But here's where it gets a little bit controversial, but I'll explain why Trump comes out a winner. A lot of you have asked about Trump's rationale for not scrapping this entire program. Why do we even need the H-1B visa program? We've got plenty of Americans here in this country that can do these jobs, and he's just undermining our system. Okay, hang on a minute. That's you out on that ledge of panic, and I'm going to walk you back into the room gently, not blaming you, because it's a good question and it's a good observation. Truly, it is. But there's an answer. Trump has been quoted as saying things like, Americans don't have the talent for some of the jobs we need. I actually saw this on social media this morning as I was getting ready for my other show on the Real Talk Radio Network. I'm paraphrasing that, but that's what people are saying. He's saying that Americans don't have the talent to do these jobs, Doug. So in the interview where a lot of this fodder is coming from was the Laura Ingraham interview that was done on Fox just a couple of nights ago. They were talking about this, and the conversation was that we need the program, the H-1B program, for certain talents, Trump said, because, and he said, quote, you don't have certain talents and people have to learn. Okay. Now, he went on to say, there's nothing wrong with what he just said there, by the way, but he went on to say this, and I quote, you can't take people off of the unemployment line and say, hey, I'm going to make you a chip manufacturer. And Trump is right, ladies and gentlemen. Hear me out. From a conservative America First perspective, it makes sense. We are talking about, first of all, cutting edge fields here. AI, semiconductors, computer programming and computer science, quantum computing. I mean, things like this. So stuff where global competition is fierce. And you can't take John or Jane Doe who are in the unemployment line because they've just been released as part of the government bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. and say, sprinkle this magic fairy dust on them and say, now you're a quantum computing engineer. Congratulations, go to work. You've got to train these people. You've got to train them up, and we've got to ramp up our systems. When you look at China, they crank out engineers at a rate that can't be matched overnight. So they've got, estimates of 277,000 Chinese students in the United States. Now, Laura Ingraham misquoted some data. I'm going to get to that in a minute. She said something like 600,000 Chinese. That's not accurate. It's not correct. So, of the 277,000 or so Chinese students who are here, most of them are in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. They call it STEM for short. Okay. Trump is saying that we can't afford a talent gap that just hands wins out to our adversaries like China. We've got to get in the ball game. So instead, he's redefining the program. That $100,000 fee that he's charging companies if they want to get an H-1B visa applicant in their company, that's proposed in addition to making those H-1B visa holders, giving them a $208,000 a year salary, minimum salary, because that would ensure that it's only for the top tiered talent that we can't readily place right now, not low wage or middle wage replacements, not letting companies falsify records and game the system, because no company is going to pay $100,000 and then $208,000 a year for somebody who's just qualified to write basic code. Drawing on my own experience in HR, I hired H-1B visa holders for high-tech roles that were genuinely hard to fill. And I wasn't 5 years ago, the AI industry wasn't where it is now, obviously, but there was robotics, there was science, there was mathematics, obviously. So, software architects that we had to hire, machine and robotics workers, they all had super niche skills that we needed to fill. And sometimes the H-1B visa holders filled those skill gaps. So, but we didn't displace Americans. I didn't. We exhausted every domestic search we could first, but I did see the abuses. They do exist. Companies that post bogus jobs, pay below the market in order to get H-1B visa holders working, and then they lay off United States American workers. Not right, and that angers me. Trump's crackdown on this hits the nail on the head. Remember the investigations, folks? There a few years ago, there was an IT firm in Oregon that had approved 1,700 H-1B visas, while at the same time cut 2,400 American jobs. You see, that's BS. That's gaming the system. These people, and they were punished for it. They were held accountable, most definitely. Conservative economics says that out of H-1B, we can boost innovation and we can create 2 to 3 United States jobs per H-1B visa. 2 to 3 jobs are created as a result, especially in tech hubs. Now, if we left it unchecked, we'd be in big trouble. You've got to monitor this stuff because there are companies and executives that are not moral people, because they will suppress wages and they'll do everything they can to game the system, where Trump is aware of that. Now, addressing those fears head on, and I get it, a lot of people think that Trump might be getting bad advice because it might appear as if he is ignoring a massive number of Americans in an untapped pool of talent who could fill these jobs, especially those people, those Americans that don't have college degrees. And I want to put your mind at rest about this. This is not what we're talking about. You're right to worry, but relax, because Trump's not overlooking this pool of people, these people that are good workers, hard workers, who just don't have a college degree. And let me get to my point. He's investing in them. That's what this means. That is what this story is really about. About 62% of our workforce doesn't have a college degree, folks. Yet they're perfect workers, perfect skill sets for skill-based roles. Studies are showing, bear with me, studies are showing that 1.4 million jobs could open up to non-degree holders in the next 5 years. And with the right training, that is really possible. That's what Trump is talking about. You can't take Johnny out of the unemployment line and just poof, make him a software engineer or a high-tech AI scientist. You've got to train him. That's what Trump is talking about. And these people can be just as successful or more so in middle skilled and up tech jobs. And that's what we're aiming for. That's the market that we want. Trump signed an executive order in April, folks, of this year to prep Americans for skilled trades. And he wants us to focus on the reindustrialization of America without college degrees. The Labor Department is rolling out $30 million in grants for AI and manufacturing training targeted people and non-college degreed people. And there's a big push for this, a big push for apprenticeships in America. Trump is backing this up and talking about it often. He's pushing the earn while you learn programs, apprenticeships and so forth. And this is absolutely exploding with potential underneath President Trump's watch and in his administration. Community colleges are leading the way in a lot of areas, building that domestic pipeline of talent. H-1B fills in the immediate gaps that we need right now, and that's okay. That's all right. Remember, those people come over from foreign countries and we get them in here and they work, and a lot of times they want to stay. And so what we're doing is taking the talent away from our adversaries. Now, we've got to vet these people. We do. Got to vet them. We don't want a bunch of Chinese spies running around here. But China's not the only country where these people come from. I read a report this morning. By 2032, this is mind-boggling. By 2032, we're going to need 5.3 million more workers with post-secondary skills with no college degree required. People are worried and scared to death in a lot of arenas that AI is going to just wipe out jobs. But in a lot of ways, and this isn't mentioned a lot of the time, but AI actually creates more jobs than it destroys. That's what this statistic is all about. By 2032, we're going to need 5.3 million more workers with these kinds of skills, and it doesn't require college education. It just requires training. Now, if you're in that pool, great. You'd better be, and you'd better make yourself known. My advice is you go to DOL.gov, the Department of Labor, DOL.gov, and get information about these apprenticeship programs, these training programs. Get in the game. You don't want to be left behind. And from the concerns I see online, people, they're also buzzing about that Laura Ingraham number, 600,000 Chinese students in America taking jobs and education, taking chairs and seats in classrooms away from Americans. All right, first of all, Laura Ingraham threw that number out. I don't know what, but it's not accurate. That is not a correct number. There are, from last September, that enrollment that was over the summer, there were 277,000 Chinese students in America. Okay, I looked it up this morning. According to registration numbers for the fall, that means right now, folks, we're in fall, there are 250,000 Chinese students enrolled in American universities or colleges. So it's less than 277 that was last semester. Currently 250,000. All right, not 600,000. So we've got to get our facts right first. Still, 250,000 people, that's a lot of people. We got to make sure we vet these people. Absolutely. That's part of Trump's plan. So he's not blanket approving. He's going to vet. That's part of the procedure by which you get into this country as a student or as an H-1B visa holder or both, because there are security risks, obviously. We learned that from our open border crisis. We address the risks and we keep the doors open for our allies and for people who want to stay here and assimilate and become Americans. Trump inked deals this past summer for streamlined H-1B processes for India, for example. But he paired that with fraud probes into the program because we don't want India, or we trust but verify, right? Like Reagan said, India is technically an ally, but we don't just blanket trust India to send us their best and not take away our secrets. We have to vet people, folks, and Trump has got that under control. So the pros here, the good points, it keeps innovation here It actually does. Instead of just kidnapping, or not kidnapping, but we used to say that when I was in HR, sack talent or kidnap talent or steal talent, whatever. When we do it this way, we keep the talent in America. We don't lose it to our competition. Now, the cons, the things to worry about are, of course, espionage, job displacement if the companies that we're dealing with are not honest and are corrupt. Bipartisan pushback from both parties. They're freaking out over the $100,000 fee. Why? You're going to charge $100,000 for a company to get that? That just screws over the startup companies. What about the mom? Well, Trump's holding firm on that, and we've got to hold firm on it. So overall, I think what this is pragmatic conservatism, ladies and gentlemen. It imports selectively talent that we need right now. We can train people here domestically, train American citizens and so forth, and it also protects our wages. Doesn't allow companies to play games with it. So and also, on a related note, there are record numbers of mass deportations taking place. I don't know if you've noticed that. Tom Homan and ICE have set records, and they're going to just keep on going. So all of those people being deported, who could have otherwise perhaps taken American jobs, they're being escorted out of the country. So there's that also, just a side note. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a well thought out plan. I think President Trump and his team have put together here, one that is not going to replace American employees with foreign workers, but it's going to train American workers to take those jobs that we want to give them, those top tier specialty jobs. And in this case, in many situations, people hear a certain story or a snippet of a story, a section of a story, and they rush to judgment before they've taken the time to think all the way through, read between the lines of the story. What's the context here? What are we really talking about? And it causes a little bit of panic. So I'm here to hopefully shed light on that, to, again, walk you back into the room of rational thought and off of the ledge of panic. I'm the safety net. I'm the rescue plan in cases like this, really. I'm here to save you and your friends and your family and your coworkers from the ledge of panic, ladies and gentlemen, and the dangers of intellectual maturity. All right, share the program, share this with people who are worried about the H-1B visa process or the loss of American jobs to foreign workers. It's not true. This is part and parcel of a liberal plan to try to cast aspersion on Trump in light of their massive defeat of the government shutdown, amongst other reasons. This is a plan that is for America, America first, and America workers. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free over there. The YouTube channel is at the right side Doug Billings. At the right side Doug Billings. Subscribe and set your notifications so you can get notified when I drop brilliant content like this, so you don't miss out. Head over to my website if you want to learn even more. That's DougBillings.us. And if you would, so that I can continue to bring you programs like this, prayerfully consider setting up something like a $5 a month continuing donation over there at DougBillings.us, because after all, the program never costs you a dime, folks. Never charge for this stuff. It's all free information, but it does cost me, and it's how I make a living. This is capitalism, after all. We're in this together, ladies and gentlemen. You know that. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.